Chuck E. Cheese sports games. Yep, another Chuck E. Cheese game. You would think I would have learned my lesson after the last time I reviewed a Chuck E. Cheese game. I mean, the last one wasn't bad, but it sure felt like I wasted 5 hours of my life. But since someone has to take the bullet and review these games that everybody ignores, I figured, why not me? The one thing that I do have to say about Chuck E. Cheese games in general is that they have a great presentation to them. The games are colorful and have easy enough controls for young kids to master. And this one is no exception. And I was actually quite surprised how much I enjoyed playing this one more than the last one. It's mainly because the games are more fun to play in this one. You first start off by picking a character. As you can see, they hide one of them, so it's a huge surprise when you unlock him. Or at least it would have been a surprise if they hadn't had him in the title screen. It makes me wonder if it's not more about unlocking him and more about he's kind of the loser of the group. You know, the one your friends always try to ditch? I mean, even his sport is locked until you get a high enough score. I think Chucky just doesn't like this guy. In this title, you can play baseball, tennis, which is more like wall ball, hockey, golf, bowling, fishing, kart racing, and the always popular sport and soon-to-be Olympic event, I'm betting, water filling. Yeah, that's right, I said water filling. So you might be wondering, what kind of sport is water filling? It's one of those carnival games where you shoot water into a hole and then it moves your character towards the finish line. It's at this point I'm wondering if the programmers forgot they're not making Chuck E. Cheese carnival games, but Chuck E. Cheese sports games. Plus there's a mystery sport, which I'll get into later. All the sports have very simple game mechanics, and most of the time they work perfectly. To swing a bat, you swing your Wiimote. To pull back to catch a fish, you pull up on the Wiimote, and so on. All the controls are very intuitive to everything you've already played on different games on the Wii. If anything, it's a bit looser and forgiving than most of the sports games that you've ever played for the Wii. Bowling is the most glaring example of this. Don't expect a realistic game here. It's fairly easy to get strike after strike, even for me. And if you know I can get a turkey in any bowling game, you know it's one messed up game. Because I am terrible at bowling. My favorite sport in this title is golf, mainly because it's fun to replay and try and beat your score. Don't expect too much of a challenge in the courses that they made, but they are fun to play. By far the worst on this title is kart racing. It may look like a Mario Kart clone on the outside, but when you play it, you'll see it's nothing like it. The whole game consists of you going around on an oval track for 3 laps. They have blue boxes on the track that will speed you up, and yellow boxes that will increase your score. And that's it. You just travel through this incredibly boring track, finding every blue box that you can so you can get through this game faster. Now you might be saying, why would I even bother playing a game like that? Well, if you want to unlock that mystical locked game, you're going to need to become a professional at that sport. In fact, you're going to need to become a professional on every sport if you want to play the mystery game. After you finish the sport, they give you points, which in time will give you different medals depending on where you are in the chart. In order to unlock the not-so-hidden character, you're going to need to get all the silver medals in the sports games. In order to access the locked game, you're going to need to get all gold medals. And while it's not that hard to do, it is a little time-consuming. So what do you get after doing all that effort? Another carnival game. I am not kidding. It's a carnival shooting range. Wait a minute. This looks awfully familiar. Let me check something out. It's the same game from Chuck E. Cheese Party Games. This is what I wasted a couple hours of my life unlocking? Ugh! I mean, I guess you could say shooting is a sport, but how about giving us a new version of the shooting game? Why not make it like Clay Pigeons, or even a Chucky version of Duck Hunt, instead of recycling the same exact kind of game they had in another game? There is one more advantage of getting to the professional level in a sport, and that is that the individual sports change. Sometimes it's just the look of the game, but other times the game changes the way the sport is played. Like this tennis game, the target moves, and they remove some of the bumpers in the golf course to make it harder. One of the best changes came to the kart racing game, as they gave you a new track, with a new addition called Turns. There is a multiplayer mode where 4 people can join in for some fun. Most of the time the games are the same, with different players taking turns or racing with you. The only notable exception is the tennis game, where you actually get to play a game of tennis, Wii Sports style. You only control the swing of the racket, not the players. This one was actually really fun, and not just for the sport itself, but for the hilariously bad point announcer.
Advantage. Team A. 40, 30, 15. Love.
Oh man, I giggle every time I hear him say love. Come on, one more time.
15. Love.
Chuck E. Cheese Sports Games is a really good kids game. I can see younger kids enjoying it because of its everyone's a winner attitude and easy control. However, it's currently being sold for $30, and that is way too much to ask for this title. So you might be asking, is the game worth the rent? Maybe. If you have a young child 3 to 8, they will find this entertaining. Anyone else, you should probably skip it.
Game finish.